Hi, I'm Sarah Noble, your host for the Modern Day Intuitive Podcast. For over 25 years, I've been on a spiritual journey, searching, learning, expanding, and growing. I've traveled the world, led by my heart, on a quest to know myself so that I can support others. This podcast was created from my deep desire to help you connect with your intuition and to inspire you to create a life where the impossible becomes possible and you live into your sacred dreams and desires. Thanks for being here and enjoy the show. Hello, my loves. Before we dive into our call today, I wanted to share some exciting news that I'll be presenting at the Love Yourself First Summit, February 13th through 16th. There's a link in the show notes if you'd love to partake in this amazing summit that's designed to really help you know, learn, feel, be, love yourself. All the deliciousness that is you, how to put yourself first, and how to really honor and cherish and nourish yourself. So I'm really delighted and honored to be part of over 30 speakers that have come together to share all their wisdom and knowledge to help you on your journey of loving yourself. So I hope to see you there. And for our call today, Bianca is coming to us in the space of wanting to be more fully in her power and connect with her desires as she expands into the upcoming changes that are happening in her life. This call leads us through a beautiful journey and conversation of embracing what you deserve, accessing your creativity to understand your purpose, allowing yourself to expand across new thresholds, how to be present for and enjoy transitions, how all your experiences are valuable, that creating new opportunities by doing the things you love is really what you would love to be doing, efforting less and living more, and recognizing when you're operating from survival programming. So lots of really juicy topics and exploring. So enjoy my call with Bianca. Namaste. Hi, Bianca. Welcome to the podcast. How can I help you today?
Hi there. Today, what's coming up for me at this moment is moving fully into my power. I was just thinking through this earlier that as far as career and creativity, my childhood, I kind of fell into things. So I danced every day and I did that for survival and a way to fully express myself and fully be myself in a family that was rigid and disconnected. And then in my teen years, I tried acting out and I escaped into that world. And I did that for several years professionally. And I feel like looking back at that, and then after that, I've been coaching a lot of artists and such, and I've loved all of the things, but I look back at it and I never really chose any of them. They came to me, they showed up, universe showed, especially coaching revealed it to me. And I have found that I had gifts in those areas, but I don't feel like I've ever really gotten still and thought, what do I desire? What does my heart desire? Fully, creatively, really in my power and moving forward into this next chapter in my life. I'm 45. I'm in a partnership now and integrating into a role as a step parent, and my career is shifting, and I really am ready to really seek what my heart desires without muscling or efforting, if that makes sense. And staying open to figuring out what that next space looks like, that expansion.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. As you're talking, the way you're showing yourself to me is it's like a tree, and a cherry tree specifically. So I don't know if there's a connection to cherries for you. But as you were talking, right, like you've just sort of fallen into things. what you're showing me is that's not exactly the case, is that your soul is very determined and has an agenda, and everything you have done has been artfully crafted for you. There's nothing has been an accident. And I have like full body goosebumps sharing that with you. There is so much wisdom inside of you and so much determination. And yet it isn't hard. Like, it's soft and it's flowing. And I see it stretching out of you, like the tree branches and the tree roots and the flowers and the fruit. And you are blossoming and blooming, my love. So what I'm gathering is it's the part of you that is caught in the beliefs of you're deserving and what your life should look like is in contradiction or opposition with actually what you are creating.
Mm. Yeah.
So what do you feel with that?
I feel a lot. It's a contradiction. So the deserving space, for sure, that is something I've been really thinking about. I deserve to be there. That's definitely a large piece for me, is that self-belief. And then I think infusing that or guiding my clients and believing in them so much and helping to pull out their gifts has been so healing for me. And now it's this time where I'm ready to pull out my gifts and maybe not be the caretaker as much, if that makes sense. That's what's coming up for me.
Yeah. And as you're talking, like the energy is flowing in my body, and it's about your hands, like the creative, right? Our arms are our creative channel, our expression of how we bring our hearts and our desires out into the world through our hands, through our voice, through our actions. Mm-hmm. And, you had talked briefly before about your creative outlet, the part of you that you are not nourishing at the moment, and that is calling to you. Yeah. So I get that you say you don't entirely know what you would love, and yet there's a part of you that has some idea. So tell me a little bit about that.
Creatively, in that regard, you're saying?
Yeah, like this next step, right? You're on this threshold of moving into so much newness, and it's like everything is changing. And yet there is this part, this nugget inside you that does have some idea about what you desire. Yeah,
there's a part of me, the thing, when I started coaching artists and acting performance, all kind of like a creative and artist doula, I felt like it was starting to train me to direct. So that's something that has been percolating in my body and my spirit for the past 5-6 years of, maybe I'm doing this coaching to prepare me to direct, because I love leading. And in the position of coaching, especially in acting, I have to diminish my power. And it never feels in flow because I don't get to fully be myself, utilize my gifts and lead a group. So directing has definitely been a big piece. It feels very natural. The challenge is, do I want to put the work in now that I'm moving into a new family? But that's a big piece. Painting, sculpting. When I was little, before I performed, there was a picture of me painting on an easel. It was maybe 3 or 4, and it was 3 blobs of pastels, like green, pink, and yellow. And it was perfectly but oddly placed. And I was in this gifted visual program in elementary school, although I can't draw figures, but I stopped doing that because of dance. And I was very quiet growing up. I didn't talk for the first 6 months of preschool. And I always have wondered if my art form was maybe more in the visual art space than performing, because I'm actually shy. So painting, that's exciting to me. Cooking, gardening. I'm trying to think I love singing, obviously, and not obviously I do. And I've always been curious about songwriting. When I was younger, I would keep a journal. I never did it. I did performing, but I think I did all the performing to heal and become closer to myself. And it's funny now that I coach a lot of songwriters that because I'm 45, it feels scary that, it's like when you're in Nashville, it's like being in LA and saying you're an actor, right? but I have so many stories to tell that are bottled up. So yeah.
Yeah. It wants to come out your hands. Like that is just the way the energy is, whether that's writing, whether painting, sculpting. It's a really big part of the process of understanding what's next. It's allowing those creative channels to open again and to serve you and to come through you.
Yeah, man. And one more thing is that I've played around with, should I be acting again? Because I never fully gave myself a chance because of my self-doubt, even in the successes I had. But the part of me that I keep having this, should I do acting, or was that a former part of my creativity? Meaning I want the joy around it. I don't want the judgment anymore. I don't want to beat myself up and have to ask somebody if I can act or be approved, if that makes sense. So I don't know if that's a past piece or if that's still part of my future, if that makes sense.
Yeah. When you were talking, like I know I'm not answering that question right now, but there's something that's poking at me. And when you talked about coaching and you said you couldn't be in your power when you were coaching and directing, I think if that was or there was some other thing. Tell me a little bit about what that means for you.
What I realized, I actually love to lead and I like to help people, and I love for people to feel seen and included. And my brain is like a creative think tank, right? So how can I help this person and create with them? And when you're on a film set, for instance, or a TV set, you have to stay in your lane. And I kept bumping up against people. I'm a truth teller. I bumped up against some really mean people, some unhealthy people. I wasn't allowed to really fully speak my truth. Although when people were in my presence, executives and writers, they wanted my opinion. So they valued me in a space that was in a leadership position, but then I had to shut my mouth and shut my voice. And I realized that it's not anybody else's fault that I'm in this position, but it's not the right fit for me because I don't get to use all of myself, just a part of myself. And I want to use all of myself. I don't want to edit.
Yeah. And what I'm getting, like not editing, right? It's like, so if I look at acting, I look at directing, coaching, what really, really is wanting your attention is this creative part of you. There's something in gardening and cooking.
Yeah.
And it's not like saying that that's going to be your career, but there's a part of you that wants to come alive.
Yes.
And okay. And so as you allow that part of you to come alive, you are going to know more definitively what the choice is.
Okay.
It's a process of coming home to you, to your heart, to the creativity that has been neglected a little bit is the word that they're using, where that's going to open up this part of you that doesn't quite know what the next step is. And again, they're showing me the tree right from the beginning, where everything you have done is valuable and is part of your journey. And you have gathered all this wisdom and knowledge from it in order to move into something new. Like that's the feeling that I get. Like going back to acting is going backwards. Continuing on the path you're on, you could do it, and it's a viable path as the new path unfolds, right? And yet I really get this sense of newness for you. Like it's almost something like you don't even know yet that is going to be the thing.
That feels completely right to me, which is why it's been so confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like it's something that's, I'm going to say bigger, but new, expansive, new perspective, new set of goggles. And every time like I've lost a family member, one of my dads, and then my stepdad, it's like I put on a new set of goggles. I'm a different human. I see life differently. I walk through it differently. And I feel like through this new relationship, and all these new spaces that maybe it's grounding me to move into the new space.
Yeah, when you have big losses, big expansions, big changes, you change. Yeah. You are not the same person anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're on this threshold of this new move that we talked about before, you are going to be an entirely different person living inside that new space and that new family. And so what they're saying is that is also going to be part of helping you understand the new path. Like it's so the advice or the guidance is pause, breathe, be in the moment, enjoy this transition that you've created for yourself, because this transition is the thing that's going to help you know the next thing. There's no doubt from your soul that your soul is like, we're on the path, lady. It's okay, sweetheart. Like, don't stress. I've got you. Like, just enjoy. Enjoy is the word.
Okay.
And be creative and let that part of you be a little wild and do things you maybe normally wouldn't do because you tell yourself you don't have the time, or you're too busy, or you're too tired, or there's part of you wants to rest and allow this creativeness to bubble inside you and to flow out of you. And the new thing will be revealed inside of all these changes you're making.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah. Yeah. And exciting.
Mm-hmm. Feel everything, right? This is what it means to be fully alive.
Yeah.
You right now in your life.
Yeah, it's wonderful and great to hear you say that, because as all of these changes are happening, I'm leaving my home, even though I'm not really living here anymore, but I still work here and I work in my home. So there's a stress around creating a new space for work. And then I keep thinking, well, maybe universe has a different plan and I'm not going to need a studio. You know, maybe it's going to shift, and I'm being present instead of grieving, but being so present for this new family and these things I've dreamed of and waited for, and not get anxious or move past that time and just really enjoy it. That's huge to hear and a great reminder for me.
Yeah, don't miss out on what you've created. Right? This is one of the desires. This is something that your heart longed for, and you created that.
Yeah.
So be in it.
Right.
In all of it, right? Because there's the excitement, there's the fear, there's the complications, there's the obstacles. Remember that everything is just as valuable. Okay. So what you perceive to possibly be an obstacle inside of all of this is just as important as the things that you look at and call exciting. Mm-hmm. Welcome them all, because they are the path. Yeah. So how can I support you from here? I don't even know. I think in a question or whatever you would love. I'm not sure right now. I feel supported in hearing your words right now. Like I'll share something. I put myself out there to a casting director. I've told one or two people last month for a big film. And something in me was like, I need to be everything we've been speaking about. And I said to her, I thought, you know what? I'm going to email her and just tell her I'm seeking to be creative again, directly to the casting director. And if anything comes up, and she said, yeah, I'll have you read for this part for this big film that's coming into town. And I did it. And my whole goal was to have a healthy experience and enjoy it again. And I surrounded myself with people who would support me. And I did it a couple weeks ago. And I've had a really hard time looking at myself on camera in pictures
being kind to myself. I just wanted to hide. And so I actually had a healthy experience, and it was really, really wonderful for me to do that. I didn't get it. They went to some big person. But this morning she reached out to me and she said, that was cast out of LA. Are you interested in any of these other parts? They're like one line in the movie. And I haven't gotten back yet to her today because part of me thought, well, maybe I should say yes. I don't know if I want to do the work of putting something on tape on audition in an audition space, but maybe that opens up something. So I'm just kind of, part of me wants to let go of the acting, you know, and the other part, I'm trying to figure out what brings me joy at this moment, you know, trusting, I guess.
Well, what's the part of you that wants to hold on to the acting?
I don't know. It's like the thing that I know, or that I never got to fully do it. But there's this other part of me that feels like that time's done. I know I can do that. I'm creative. I don't, I there's another part of me that feels more knowledgeable. That's like, you don't need that anymore. Like the amount of time that it takes to put something on tape to get somebody to say you're good and you can go on set and do a line. I don't know if at this point that's going to feed me in a healthy space for the, you know, I guess that's my questioning. I think as freelance artists and such, we never want to miss opportunities because, you know, want to say yes to opportunities, see where they lead, but maybe I haven't said no enough in my life. Maybe to too many things and to too many people who weren't deserving of my space or my time or things that, you know, maybe it's okay to say no. That doesn't feel right for me right now.
Yeah. And it's important to build that frequency inside you. Like when you talked about putting the tape together and sending the thing, there's not a lot of life in you as you say that, right? Like it's a should, or, oh, maybe it's an opportunity. But I don't get the sense that any of that really lights you up.
It feels like work. It feels like efforting right now.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things you said was less efforting, right? That's what you desire.
Yeah, it feels like the universe wants me to effort less, or be more effortless. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And surrender and allow and let myself be still and let myself be hungry again, you know, and tune in, I guess.
Yeah. And the way that you get less effort is you choose the things that don't require effort, right? Because if you go down that path, you're efforting to make it happen.
Yeah.
And that's not what you want. And so it's learning to choose what you would love instead of the old pattern that you're choosing.
Right. Yes.
That's how you build that inside you. That's how you create less effort in your life, is by choosing less effort.
Right. Okay. That's hugely helpful.
Mm-hmm. And that's again back to the creative pieces that feel effortless, that feel fun, that feel like they fill your soul and your heart. And, you know, time doesn't matter when you're doing these things.
Right.
Those are the things that are in your best interest, highest good to follow right now. They are going to guide you and lead you to what it is that you're doing next.
Okay.
It's like they're showing it like this little puzzle maze. They're like, come on, you got to go on this little journey, adventure with us to figure this out. Like, you're so used to doing these old things. We got to make this fun and do something different to show you that there's another way.
Yeah. It's like my new self, their old habits still kind of creep in. Mm-hmm. And like, I just want to travel right now. I don't know where the money will come from, but I've not really had the opportunity to travel unless it's, you know, New York or LA for work. And I really want to see other cultures and music and dance and just, you know, art. And that's something I'm really craving right now. So.
And that's where you're going to find your opportunity.
Yeah.
right? It's not spending the amount of time you would spend putting together all that stuff for one line.
Yeah.
Take that, harness it, go somewhere. And there's going to be a way bigger, better, brighter opportunity because you did that instead with the time.
Right. Okay. That feels so good to hear that.
Mm-hmm. And the money will happen.
Yeah.
It always does, right? When you want something, when you desire it, when you go for it, when you risk you, like your well-being, the money shows up somehow, somewhere.
It always does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Every time. That's really, really helpful. Just trusting what you're saying are things that I feel. It's like half of if I cut myself down to the center of my body, it feels like one side of my body feels the things that you're saying, and intuitively knows that, but the other half is my old self, old perspective, right? So it's this a bit of tug of war. I would explain the confusion of it.
Yeah, well, that other side, right? Its job is to keep you alive. Like basic talking, right? Survival. We have to keep her alive. And she's doing all these crazy things, and we don't really know how to work in that space over there. So she might die. So we got to really bring down the hammer here and get her to stop.
Yes. Yeah, it is that. It's retraining myself. It's like my feminine side, energy, creative, flowing side is much stronger than it used to be. But that pragmatic survival, having to live in the masculine can still show up at times.
Yeah. And it's such a sweet, innocent part of us. Like that's the thing to remember, right? Like don't make that part wrong.
Yeah.
That part is loving you the way that it knows how.
Yeah.
And yet it's just not qualified to run your life anymore. And so we give it something else to do and we love it and we include it, but it doesn't get to drive the show. It doesn't get to stop you from doing what you want.
Right.
So what are you taking away from our call today?
I'm so happy I did this call.
Me too.
I feel affirmed in my intuitive beliefs and feelings. I feel like things that you've said, specifically not having to do that second audition, which is where I've been feeling in conflict and saying that you don't feel energy around it. And you're correct. And the head, obviously correct. And it was really important for me to hear that, because I think sometimes this muscling and the ego, or I should, right? Should's just a bad word. And so trusting that, just opening into my creativity, which my healer here in town said that to me too. So to hear it from two of you feels like spirit is coming in saying, yes, this is the path. This is the entryway. Feels really good. The cherry tree I'm going to sit with. I'm very curious about that. Pausing and enjoying and being creative in the moment. Just so many pieces are sitting with me and following my joy.
Yeah.
And also that my soul is determined is really interesting to hear. that all the pieces have added up to this moment, which I do feel for sure. And that it's not a timeline, I think that's really important for everyone to remember. We're not on a timeline. Yeah. To stay open, and that creativity is my path. And I do get a lot of joy when I cook. So continuing down that path. And I think trusting in myself and trusting in divine timing and universe and all of that. Yeah. And the arms.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the arms. I knew other parts, but the arms, saying that's the creative channel. That's going to sit with me for a while.
Because a lot of the things you've talked about, they're expressions of your hands.
Yes.
Like you do them through your hands. Yeah. And what they're saying too is that as you do these things, like as you cook and you're crafting and creating this delicious meal, it's in devotion to the unfolding of your path. And as you paint and as you garden do it lovingly in devotion to knowing the next step on the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're creating your life every moment. And if you're doing things you love and offering them in devotion to your future self, you're just in creation energy and all of that.
Right. The word devotion, that stands out to me. Yeah. And the word neglect, when you said part of me had been neglected, that really struck me.
Yeah. And as you put those two together, right, this is a beautiful way to nourish yourself with this devotion to these things that you love, as a way to include that part that accidentally got neglected. Wasn't on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It just, it was a misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I feel at peace right now, which is a nice feeling. I feel peaceful about not having to figure things out, I guess. That's my big takeaway.
Yeah. And right. And that's you're in your heart, because it's only the mind that tells us that we have to figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
The heart knows what you're feeling right now.
And I'm feeling energy at between my second and third chakras, which is interesting. Like it's starting to, there's something moving out of maybe that anxiety space in my third chakra, and I feel it moving down. So that's kind of nice. Feeling like a warm, tingly feeling.
Well, this conversation, right, is activating that creative center in you, the sacral second chakra, womb space.
Yeah.
And your third chakra is how you take your creations and you bring them out into the world. So you've activated that channel.
Yeah. I feel it very strongly right now. It's just fun. It feels hot. It feels warm.
Mm. Does this feel like an okay place to land today?
It's perfect. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today and making your personal and spiritual growth a priority in your life. To learn more about connecting with your dreams and your intuition so that you can create a life full of possibilities, visit me at www.sarahnoble.com and see how we can create magic together. A big thank you from my heart to yours for making the planet a better place for us all.